He wiped the same floors for 20 years. Quiet, respectful, invisible. But one morning, a billionaire CEO walked through those same halls and turned his world into a public humiliation. The room laughed. The cameras caught it all. No one knew who the janitor really was, or what that faded tattoo beneath his sleeve meant. Because behind that mark lay a past powerful enough to bring the mighty to their knees. What happens when the man everyone ignored reveals the truth no one was ready for? For nearly 2 decades, Holder had worked in the same glass tower downtown, a place where his reflection on the polished floors mattered more to people than the man holding the mop. He came in before sunrise, left after dark, and never once complained. The executives passed him daily, eyes fixed on their phones, never meeting his. To them, he was background noise, a shadow that moved, cleaned, and disappeared. But Holder wasn't bitter. He found quiet pride in his work, humming old jazz tunes as he swept. Every corner of that building carried a piece of him, the fingerprints of a man who had once dreamed of something greater. Behind his calm smile and weathered hands lay a story no one had ever asked about, and a tattoo on his arm that hadn't been seen in years, a mark tied to a past most people couldn't imagine. He'd seen CEOs come and go, some kind, most indifferent, but the one arriving that morning was different, arrogant, loud, and famous for treating people like statistics. As the elevator doors opened and the crowd gathered, Holder straightened his uniform. He didn't know it yet, but that ordinary morning was about to become the day he'd finally be seen, and the truth behind that tattoo would change everything. The morning began like any other. Holder polished the marble floors on the top level, the executive wing, where silence was golden and every detail sparkled. The new CEO was scheduled to arrive, and the entire staff moved like a storm under control, nervous, sharp, and rehearsed. Holder had seen it all before, but something about the atmosphere felt heavier this time, like the building itself was holding its breath. When the elevator doors opened, silence broke. The billionaire stepped out, tall, polished, and arrogant, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. Cameras followed him. Assistants hovered behind, scribbling every word as if it were law. Holder stepped aside, mop in hand, making sure not to draw attention. But fate has a cruel sense of timing. A drop of water slipped from the mop, landing right where the CEO's pristine shoes touched the ground. The man stopped. Slowly, deliberately, his gaze dropped to the wet spot, then to Holder. "Is this what I'm paying for?" He sneered. The room froze. Holder muttered an apology, but the CEO's smirk widened. "You people can't even clean right." Laughter rippled through the crowd, sharp, cruel, and unforgettable. Holder felt the sting, but he didn't respond. His heart pounded. Every instinct told him to walk away, to swallow the humiliation like he had countless times before. But something inside him shifted, quiet anger stirring beneath years of silence. As the CEO turned away, Holder's sleeve slipped, revealing part of the tattoo on his forearm, a mark faded by time but unmistakable to those who recognized it. One of the younger executives noticed first. His expression changed from amusement to shock. He leaned closer, whispering to another, and within seconds the laughter faded. The CEO turned back, irritated. What's so funny now?" But no one laughed anymore. Eyes darted between Holder and the billionaire, tension thick enough to cut. Holder saw the confusion spread. He pulled his sleeve back down, but it was too late. The whispers grew louder. "Is that really him?" "It can't be." "No way." The CEO frowned, demanding answers, but none came. Holder met his gaze, calm, steady, and unflinching for the first time. Somewhere deep down, the billionaire recognized the symbol, too. His face paled, the arrogance slipping for just a second. That tattoo wasn't random. It belonged to someone who once stood far above him, someone whose past could rewrite everything the cameras thought they knew. The janitor turned away, silent. But in that silence, power shifted. For the first time, Holder wasn't invisible anymore. The air inside the lobby turned heavy, as if time itself had stopped. The billionaire's grin faded when he saw the stares from his staff, confused, pale, uneasy. Holder stood motionless, the sleeve of his uniform still slightly raised. That faint weathered tattoo was no ordinary mark. It was a symbol once seen only on the walls of elite universities and scientific institutions, the crest of the Alexander Foundation, the very company that funded the billionaire's own success. For the first time, cameras turned toward the janitor. The CEO frowned, trying to regain control of the room. "What are you all looking at? He's just—" But before he could finish, one of the older employees whispered, "Sir." "That's Dr. Holder Alexander." The name sliced through the silence like lightning. Holder lifted his gaze, calm but burning inside. Years ago, he had built that same company from the ground up, a brilliant engineer, inventor, and mentor to the man now mocking him. But after a hostile takeover and a smear campaign, he had been erased, replaced by greed, silenced by money, and forced to disappear. Now, standing in the very halls he created, he was nothing but a janitor to them. Until this moment. The CEO's face drained of color as the truth unraveled. Cameras kept rolling. Phones captured every second. Holder didn't shout. He didn't need to. His silence said everything. The same man who had been insulted for his color and dismissed for his position was the one who made that empire possible. And in that single devastating moment, the entire building seemed to see what they had refused to for years. Not a janitor, not a worker, but a man who had once held the power to change the world. As Holder turned toward the exit, the billionaire stumbled after him, words catching in his throat. But it was too late. The truth was already out, and it was live. The next morning, the story was everywhere. Headlines, social feeds, talk shows. The video of the billionaire humiliating his former mentor went viral overnight. Some called it justice. Others called it karma. But for Holder, it wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. He didn't return to the building the next day or the day after. The company scrambled to repair its image, statements, donations, and empty apologies. Yet none of it could undo what the world had seen, how easily power can blind, how quickly people forget the worth of a man once stripped of a title and dressed in a uniform. Holder moved quietly away from the noise. For the first time in years, he felt light. Not because people finally recognized him, but because he no longer needed them to. His story had spoken louder than he ever could, and in the faces of janitors, clerks, and delivery men who stopped him in the street, he saw something powerful: recognition, pride, and quiet strength. The billionaire's empire trembled, but Holder's legacy grew stronger. The mark on his arm, once hidden, became a symbol for those who had been overlooked, dismissed, or disrespected for the color of their skin or the work they do. He never wanted fame. He only wanted dignity, and in the end he found it again. Because sometimes the greatest power isn't in status or wealth, but in standing tall when the world tries to keep you small. And as the world scrolled through yet another viral story, one question lingered in every mind. How many more Holders will it take before we finally see people for who they are? And not for what they wear,